Have you ever noticed that the moment you finally start loving yourself, people suddenly treat you differently? Your energy becomes calmer, and yet, somehow, you still don't feel complete. It's confusing, isn't it? You try to change your mindset, you try to heal, you try to become better, but something deep inside still feels unsettled. Here's the truth most people never realize. You don't fail at self-love. You practice it in ways that quietly destroy it. In the wisdom of Lord Buddha, what you believe shapes the suffering you carry. You don't need proof, just look at your own life. Are you truly at peace or just temporarily distracted? In this video, you'll discover 12 powerful habits and a hidden bonus at the end that will challenge everything you think you know about loving yourself and reveal why nothing has truly changed until now. Before we begin, your doorway to calm, clarity, and timeless Buddhist insight. You are still seeking permission. Why does your heart still feel restless, even when you've done everything right? You followed the path, met expectations, avoided mistakes, yet something inside you whispers, "This is not enough." Sit with this quietly. What if the emptiness is not failure, but a signal that you are still waiting for permission to exist? There is a subtle addiction most people never question, the need to be seen as good, acceptable, worthy. You smile when expected, speak when it is safe, silence your truth when it feels risky, and slowly, without noticing, you begin to disappear. Dependence on praise is the slowest form of self-erasure. Read that again, not as an idea, but as a mirror. How much of your life has been shaped by the invisible audience in your mind? A monk once said, "When you build your identity on the eyes of others, you forget how to see yourself. And this, forgetting, becomes your suffering. You become like a tree bending toward artificial light, growing, yes, but never in your true direction. Your choices begin to feel heavy, your joy feels conditional, and deep down, a quiet question lingers. Is this really me? Pause here. Close your eyes just for a moment. Imagine yourself standing alone in a vast, empty space. No voices, no praise, no judgment, just you, breathing, existing without explanation. In that silence, something honest begins to rise, not who you should be, but who you are beneath the noise. Can you feel it? Now ask yourself gently, who are you trying to impress without realizing it? Is it your family, your past, a version of yourself that no longer feels alive? And if no one could judge you, truly no one, what would you do differently? Would you still walk this path? Or would your feet turn in another direction? This is where self-care begins, not in comfort, but in truth. The first habit is simple, but not easy. Stop asking for permission to be yourself. Each time you notice the urge to seek approval, pause, breathe, and choose one small act that comes from your own inner voice instead. It may feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, but that discomfort is not wrongness. It is freedom waking up. The moment you stop abandoning yourself, the world loses the power to abandon you, and slowly, quietly, you begin to return. You don't suffer because you don't love yourself. You suffer because your life is built on habits that keep asking, "Am I allowed to be me?" We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "Self-love brings everything." Your habits reveal your self-worth. You say you love yourself, but your habits whisper a different truth. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in the quiet, repetitive ways you treat your own life. The meals you rush through, the rest you postpone, the thoughts you allow to stay. Sit with this for a moment. If someone watched your daily patterns, would they see care or quiet neglect? There is a simple, uncomfortable truth. You do not rise to your intentions, you fall to your habits. And your habits are not random, they are reflections. What you allow becomes what you believe you deserve. This is not punishment. It is conditioning. Each time you tolerate what drains you, you send a message inward. This is enough for me. And slowly, your life begins to match that belief. A teacher once shared, a person's life is shaped less by what they desire and more by what they accept. Look closely. Where have you been accepting less? Not because you want to, but because you've grown used to it. Like a house slowly decaying from within, the damage is not always visible at first, but the cracks, they define the structure over time. Pause today, not to fix everything, but to observe one small habit, just one. Watch how you eat. Do you rush, distracted, half present? Watch how you speak to yourself when something goes wrong. Is there patience or quiet harshness? Notice how you rest. Do you allow yourself true recovery or only collapse when you are exhausted? This is where the truth lives, not in big promises, but in small, repeated choices. And now, ask yourself honestly, where are you betraying yourself daily? Not in obvious ways, but in subtle compromises you've normalized. What are you tolerating that a deeper part of you knows is not right? A relationship? A routine? A thought pattern? If you truly valued yourself, not just in words, but in action, what would you stop allowing starting today? This is the second habit. Raise your standard quietly, consistently, not through force, but through awareness. Each time you notice neglect, choose a slightly better action. Eat with presence, speak with respect, rest without guilt. Small shifts, repeated daily, become self-respect made visible. The moment you stop tolerating less, you begin to remember your worth. And that remembrance changes everything, not instantly, but inevitably. You don't lack love for yourself. You've simply been practicing habits that prove otherwise. 3. Validation is quietly destroying you. You feel the urge to be seen, to be acknowledged, understood, affirmed. It feels innocent at first, human even. But sit quietly with this. Why does your peace depend on being noticed? Why does your worth rise and fall with someone else's attention? The more you need eyes on you, the less clearly you begin to see yourself. There is a hidden cost to constant validation. Each time you look outward for confirmation, you move a step away from your own center. Your decisions become softer, less honest. Your voice becomes filtered. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop asking, "Is this true for me?" and start asking, "Will this be accepted?" The one who seeks reflection in others forgets their own face. This is not judgment. It is a quiet observation of how identity dissolves. Imagine two mirrors facing each other, endless reflections, repeating, distorting, multiplying. But where is the original image? Where is the truth? This is what happens when your sense of self depends on others' reactions. You become an echo, a version of a version, and deep inside, a subtle emptiness grows. Not because you are unseen, but because you have stopped seeing yourself. Tonight, sit in silence. No distractions, no reaching for your phone, no urge to share a thought, no need to express. Just sit and watch your mind. Thoughts will arise, some uncomfortable, some revealing. Resist the impulse to turn them into something to show others. Let them exist, just for you. This is where clarity begins. Not in expression, but in observation. And gently ask yourself, why do you feel the need to be seen? Is it connection you seek, or reassurance that you are enough? What are you avoiding when you are alone with your own thoughts? Is there a truth you have been delaying, hiding behind noise and attention? This is the third habit. Learn to witness yourself without an audience. Not to isolate, but to reconnect. When you stop performing your life for others, something deeper awakens. Your choices become clearer, your voice becomes steady, your presence becomes real, not shaped by approval, but rooted in awareness. The moment you are no longer desperate to be seen, you finally begin to see. You don't feel invisible because others ignore you. You feel invisible because you have not yet learned to sit fully with yourself. You abandon yourself in silence. There are moments in your day that seem small, almost invisible. A quiet. It's fine when something inside you tightens. A forced smile when your heart withdraws. A silence when truth is asking to be spoken. These are not harmless adjustments. This is where you begin to abandon yourself. Not loudly, not all at once, but in fragments. And the most dangerous part is this. It starts to feel normal. You tell yourself you are being patient, understanding, flexible. But beneath that softness, there is a quiet betrayal. Every time you ignore your inner voice, you teach yourself you don't matter. Sit with that truth, not to judge yourself, but to see clearly. Because self-betrayal rarely looks like destruction, it looks like politeness, like compromise, like keeping the peace at your own expense. A monk once said, "The deepest loneliness is not when others leave you, it is when you leave yourself." And this leaving is subtle. You feel it when you swallow your words, when you ignore your limits, when you say yes while your entire being whispers no. Like a shadow fading at dusk, you slowly disappear from your own life. And then you wonder why you feel unseen. Pause here. Recall one moment from today, just one. A moment where you said, "It's fine," but it wasn't. Do not analyze it. Feel it. Where did your body tighten? What did your heart want to say? Stay with that sensation without rushing to justify it. This is where your truth lives. Not in loud declarations, but in quiet discomfort you often overlook. Now ask yourself, gently but honestly, when did you last ignore your truth? Was it in a conversation, a decision, a relationship? Why did you choose silence over honesty? Was it fear of conflict, fear of rejection, or the deeper fear that your truth might not be accepted? And if that is the case, what are you truly afraid will happen if you speak? This is the fourth habit. Stop abandoning yourself in small moments, not by becoming harsh or reactive, but by becoming honest. Begin with simple things. If something feels wrong, acknowledge it within yourself first. If you need rest, allow it without guilt. If a boundary is crossed, name it calmly. These are not acts of rebellion, they are acts of self-respect. In the beginning, it will feel uncomfortable. Your voice may shake, your mind may resist, because you are breaking a pattern that once felt safe. But understand this, what feels safe is not always what is true, and what is true is the only place where real peace begins. The moment you stop silencing yourself, your life starts to feel different, lighter, clearer, more aligned. Not because everything changes around you, but because you are no longer missing from your own experience. You don't feel lost because life is confusing. You feel lost because you've been quietly walking away from yourself. One, it's fine at a time. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "Self-love brings everything." 5. Your love is rooted in fear. You say you love, but if you look closely, there is tension hidden inside it. A quiet fear, a subtle grasping. You think about them constantly, not from peace, but from worry. You hold on, not because your heart is full, but because you are afraid it might become empty. Sit with this gently. What if what you call love is not love, but fear wearing a softer face? There is a truth many avoid. Attachment often disguises itself as devotion. You check, you wait, you need reassurance. You adjust yourself to keep someone close, and slowly, your center shifts. Your happiness begins to depend on their presence, their response, their consistency. Clinging is not connection, it is the fear of emptiness. This is not love expanding, this is fear tightening its grip. A teacher once said, "Where there is fear of loss, there is still distance from true love." Because real love does not shrink you. It does not demand that you abandon your own peace to maintain it. But attachment, it quietly asks you to trade your stability for closeness. And you agree, thinking this is what love requires. Imagine holding sand in your hand. If you hold it gently, it rests. If you grip it tightly, it slips away faster. This is how fear behaves in relationships. The more you try to control, secure, and hold on, the more fragile everything becomes. And deep inside, you feel it. That constant tension, that silent anxiety. Is this love, or is this survival? Close your eyes for a moment. Visualize releasing this person, not as loss, but as freedom. You are not pushing them away. You are loosening the grip. Feel the space that remains. It may feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, but stay there. That space is not emptiness. It is where yourself begins to return. Now ask yourself honestly, do you love them or do you fear losing them? And if they were not there, who would you be? Not the version shaped around them, but the version that exists independently, fully, quietly, whole. Can you meet that version without rushing to fill the space again? This is the fifth habit. Love without clinging. Stay connected, but not dependent. Care deeply, but not at the cost of yourself. Let your love come from fullness, not fear. This is not detachment from people. It is detachment from the illusion that they complete you. The moment your love is no longer driven by fear, it becomes lighter, calmer, real. You don't struggle with love because you feel too much. You struggle because you've been holding on too tightly to avoid feeling alone. 6. Comfort is keeping you weak. There is a quiet lie you have been told, that self-love means always being gentle with yourself, that it means choosing ease, avoiding discomfort, staying where things feel safe. But look closely at your life. Has comfort made you stronger, or has it slowly weakened your will? Sit with that question honestly, because sometimes what feels like kindness is actually avoidance. You delay what matters. You postpone the difficult conversation, the disciplined routine, the uncomfortable truth, and you tell yourself, I'll do it when I feel ready. But readiness rarely comes from waiting, it comes from stepping into resistance. Growth does not come from comfort. It comes from truth, and truth is rarely soft in the beginning. A monk once said, "The path that strengthens you will not always soothe you." Because real self-care is not always about calming yourself. It is about correcting yourself. It is choosing what is right, even when your mind resists. Like a blade sharpened by friction, your strength is formed in moments where you do not escape discomfort, but stay present within it. Think of one thing you've been avoiding, not something impossible. Something simple, clear, necessary. Maybe it is waking up earlier, taking care of your body, ending a harmful habit, or facing a truth you keep postponing. Notice how your mind reacts. It creates excuses, delays, distractions. It seeks comfort, not because it is right, but because it is easy. Today, do that one thing, not perfectly, not with intensity, but with honesty. As you step into it, discomfort will arise. Your body may resist. Your thoughts may complain. Do not fight it, and do not escape it. Just observe it. Stay with it. This is where your discipline begins, not in force, but in awareness. Now ask yourself, what are you avoiding that you know you need? Where have you chosen comfort over growth again and again? And if you were to truly respect yourself, not just emotionally, but through action, what would discipline look like in your daily life? This is the 6th habit. Practice firm compassion. Be kind, but not indulgent. Be patient, but not passive. True self-love is not about making life easier. It is about making yourself stronger, clearer, more aligned. The moment you stop using comfort as an excuse, you begin to feel a different kind of peace. Not the fragile peace of avoidance, but the steady peace of self-trust. You don't feel stuck because life is hard. You feel stuck because comfort has quietly become your cage. 7. You don't need to be liked. Not everyone will like you, and somewhere deep inside, that truth still unsettles you. You adjust your tone, soften your opinions, reshape your edges, hoping to be accepted. But pause for a moment. At what cost? Each time you bend yourself to fit someone else's comfort, you move a little further away from your own center. And slowly, you begin to confuse approval with peace. There is a quiet exhaustion in trying to be liked. You measure your words, anticipate reactions, carry the invisible weight of other people's opinions. And yet, no matter how carefully you perform, it is never enough. Because the desire to be liked is not about connection. It is about fear. Fear of rejection, fear of standing alone. But listen closely. Rejection is not the wound you think it is a release. When you stop needing acceptance, you become unshakable. Not because the world changes, but because you do. A monk once shared, "The sky does not chase the clouds. It remains vast, allowing everything to pass." You are like that sky. Opinions, judgments, preferences, they are passing clouds. They do not define you unless you hold on to them. Think of a moment when you were rejected, not accepted, not chosen, not understood. Feel it again. Not the pain, but the meaning you gave it. Did you see it as proof that you were not enough? Or could it be something else? A quiet redirection? A moment where life gently moved you away from what was not aligned with you? Sit with this question now. Why do you fear being disliked? Is it the discomfort of being misunderstood? Or the deeper fear of standing fully in your truth without support? And what are you compromising, even today, just to be accepted? A belief, a boundary, a part of your voice? This is the 7th habit. Release the need to be liked. Not by becoming distant or indifferent, but by becoming honest. Speak clearly, act truthfully, let people respond as they will. Some will stay, some will leave, and both are necessary. Because the right connections are not built on performance, they are built on authenticity. Imagine who you would be if you stopped trying to be liked. Not careless, but free. Not closed, but grounded. A version of you that does not shrink to fit, but expands naturally, without apology. The moment you stop seeking acceptance, you stop abandoning yourself. And in that space, something powerful emerges, a quiet strength that no rejection can shake. You don't lose people because you are not enough. You lose people because you are finally becoming real. You don't need to be loved. There is a quiet hunger you carry, the need to be loved, chosen, held by someone else. It feels natural, almost necessary. But look deeper. Why does your sense of completeness depend on someone outside of you? Why does your peace feel conditional? Sit with this gently, because the search for love often begins from a place that already feels empty. You reach outward, hoping someone will fill what you cannot name. You seek reassurance, attention, closeness, not just to connect, but to feel whole. And when it fades, even slightly, the emptiness returns. Not because love disappeared, but because it was never rooted within you. The one who is full within does not beg for drops. This is not rejection of love. It is a reminder of its true source. A teacher once said, "When you depend on others to feel complete, you give them the power to define your worth." And, slowly, your emotional world begins to revolve around their presence. Their silence feels heavy. Their absence feels like loss. But the truth is quieter than that. What you feel is not the loss of them. It is the absence of yourself. Imagine a well that never fills, no matter how much water is poured into it. Not because the water is insufficient, but because there is a leak within. This is what happens when you ignore your inner connection. No matter how much love you receive, it never stays. It slips through the cracks of self-neglect, leaving you searching again. Pause now. Place your hand on your chest. Feel your breath, steady, present, enough. Not waiting, not needing, just existing. Stay here for a moment. Beneath the noise, beneath the longing, there is a quiet presence that has always been with you. You have not been empty, only disconnected. Ask yourself honestly, why do you feel unfinished when you are alone? What are you expecting others to give you that you have not given to yourself? Is it attention, kindness, acceptance? And if so, why have you kept these away from your own being? This is the 8th habit. Learn to sit calmly with yourself, not as a final option, but as a foundation. Spend time without distraction. Speak to yourself with care. Give yourself the same presence you look for from others. This is not isolation, it is restoration. When you start to feel whole within, something changes. You no longer chase love, you share it. You no longer depend, you connect. And your relationships become lighter, freer, and more real. You don't feel unloved because others fail you. You feel unloved because you have not yet learned how to stay with yourself. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type "self-love brings everything." 9. Respect is not promised. You wait for respect from others, from the world, from those around you. You hope they will see your worth, notice your effort, and treat you with care. But stop for a moment. What if the deeper question is not whether they respect you, but whether you respect yourself? Because what you quietly accept becomes the standard others follow. There is a quiet truth most people avoid. The world reflects the standard you silently accept, not because people are cruel, but because they respond to the energy you carry. When you tolerate disrespect, ignore your own boundaries, speak to yourself with doubt, this becomes your unspoken message, and the world simply reflects it back, not as punishment, but as alignment. A monk once said, "Clarity does not come from forcing others to see you. It comes from seeing yourself without distortion. Like water that has been disturbed, your reflection becomes unclear when your inner state is unstable. But when you choose stillness, honest, grounded awareness, something changes. You begin to see yourself clearly, and from that clarity, respect naturally grows. Stand still for a moment. Notice your posture, your breath, your tone, not how you look to others, but how you feel within yourself. Is there confidence or hesitation, presence or quiet shrinking? Gently adjust it, not to impress, but to align. Lift your posture, slow your breath, steady your voice. These small changes are not shallow. They are signs of self-respect, being rebuilt from within. Now ask yourself honestly, do your actions show respect for your own life? Where are you lowering your standards, accepting less than you know is right? Is it in the way you allow others to treat you, or in the way you treat yourself when no one is watching? And if you were to truly respect yourself, not only in thought, but in action, what would change starting today? This is the 9th habit. Live in a way that earns your own respect, not through perfection, but through consistency. Keep small promises to yourself. Speak honestly. Walk away from what lowers you. These are not dramatic acts. They are quiet choices that reshape your identity over time. The moment you begin to respect yourself, the world responds differently. Not always immediately, not always perfectly, but inevitably. Because your presence changes, your boundaries become clear, your energy becomes steady. You don't lack respect because others fail you. You lack it when you silently agree to live below your own standard. Face yourself without illusion. When you look at yourself, do you truly see who you are, or only the version you have learned to show? A version shaped by comfort, by avoidance, by quiet denial. Sit with this question, not to criticize, but to uncover. Because the hardest truth is this: you cannot love what you refuse to see clearly. There are parts of you that you have learned to hide, not only from others, but from yourself. Habits you defend, patterns you ignore, emotions you push away because they feel inconvenient or uncomfortable or too revealing. And slowly, a gap forms between who you are and who you believe you are. You cannot love what you refuse to see clearly. This is not cruelty, it is honesty. A monk once said, "Truth does not wound you, resistance to truth does." Like fog covering a mountain, illusion softens the edges of reality. It makes things easier to look at, but not easier to live with. Because what is hidden does not disappear, it waits. And over time, it shapes your life from under the surface. Stand before a mirror, not casually, but with intention. Look into your own eyes for a full minute. No adjusting, no judging, no escaping. Just observe. At first, your mind will react. It will label, distract, criticize. Let it pass. Stay still. Beneath the noise, something deeper starts to appear. A quiet recognition of what is real. Now, ask yourself honestly, what are you avoiding about yourself? Not in theory, but in daily life. Is it a habit you know is hurting you? A truth about your behavior? A pattern you keep repeating but refuse to fully admit? And why have you been hiding from it? Is it fear of change or fear of what facing it might ask from you? This is the 10th habit. Face yourself without illusion. Not to become perfect, but to become real. Because only what is seen can be transformed. Only what is accepted can begin to heal. This is where self-love becomes grounded, not in blind acceptance, but in clear awareness. It may feel uncomfortable, at times even confronting. But understand this, discomfort is not your enemy. It is the doorway to alignment. Every truth you face removes a layer of confusion, bringing you closer to yourself. The moment you stop hiding from who you are, you give yourself the chance to become who you can be. You don't struggle to love yourself because you are broken. You struggle because you've been looking at a version of yourself that was never fully true. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "Self-love brings everything." 11. Treat yourself like someone you love. You offer patience to others, even when they fall short. You speak gently, forgive quickly, make room for their struggles. But when it comes to yourself, your tone changes. You become harsher, colder, less forgiving. Sit with this honestly. Why do you give the best of your kindness away and keep the worst of your judgment inside? There is a quiet imbalance in the way you live. You show up for others, you support, you understand. But when you struggle, you pull away from yourself. You criticize your mistakes, rush your healing, ignore your needs. Self-love is not only a feeling, it is consistent action, and your actions reveal a deeper truth. You have learned to care outwardly, but not inwardly. A teacher once said, "The way you treat yourself in pain shows the depth of your love." Notice what happens when things go wrong. Do you give yourself patience or pressure? Do you sit with your emotions or try to run from them? This is where self-love is tested, not in good moments, but in difficult ones. Imagine watering every plant around you while your own roots stay dry. At first, everything seems fine. You feel useful, needed, connected. But over time, something begins to fade within you, not because you lack love, but because you have not turned it inward. Today, do one simple act of care for yourself, not from obligation, but from intention. It could be rest without guilt, a quiet walk, speaking kindly to yourself after a mistake, or simply pausing to breathe. As you do it, notice the resistance, the voice that says, "This is unnecessary, you don't deserve this." Stay with it, do it anyway. This is where the shift begins. Now ask yourself, how do you treat yourself when you are struggling? If someone you love were in your place, would you speak to them the same way? Would you rush them, criticize them, ignore their pain, or would you offer understanding, patience, and care? Then why is your own heart treated differently? This is the 11th habit. Treat yourself like someone you truly care for. Not sometimes, but consistently. Through your thoughts, your actions, your choices. This is not indulgence, it is discipline. A daily commitment to not abandon yourself when it matters most. The moment your care turns inward, something softens, something strengthens. You begin to feel supported from within. You don't struggle to love yourself because you lack the ability. You struggle because you've been giving that love everywhere except where it was needed most. Bonus: focus on yourself completely. Your attention is being pulled in many directions. People, opinions, comparisons, distractions, and slowly, without noticing, you begin to feel scattered. Not because life is too busy, but because your energy is no longer yours. Sit with this truth quietly. Where your attention goes, your life follows. And right now, where is your life really going? You think focusing on others is connection. You think staying updated, involved, responsive is necessary. But look deeper. How often do you return to yourself? How often do you sit without reaching outward, without needing to check, reply, compare? The more your focus lives outside, the more you lose the center within. And without that center, everything starts to feel unstable. A monk once said, "A distracted mind cannot know peace because it has no home to return to." Like sunlight scattered across many surfaces, your energy becomes weak everywhere, powerful nowhere. You begin many things, but finish few. You feel everything, but understand little. And beneath it all, there is a quiet tiredness, not from effort, but from misdirection. Pause now. Bring your attention inward just for a few moments. Close your eyes. Feel your breath, steady, present. Notice your thoughts, not as commands, but as movements. Stay here. Do not chase anything. Do not fix anything. Just return. This simple act is more powerful than it seems, because each time you come back to yourself, you reclaim a part of your life. Now ask yourself honestly, where is your energy being wasted? Not in obvious ways, but in subtle ones. Overthinking what others think of you, replaying conversations, comparing your path to someone else's. And, in all this outward focus, who are you neglecting within yourself? This is the final habit. Focus on yourself completely, not in isolation, but in alignment. Give your energy to what strengthens you. Protect your attention as something sacred. When your mind drifts outward unnecessarily, gently bring it back, not with force, but with awareness. At first, it will feel unfamiliar. You may feel the urge to reach outward again, but stay, because in that stillness, something begins to rebuild. A sense of clarity, of presence, of quiet strength. The moment you return to yourself fully, your life begins to gather its power again. You don't feel lost because you lack direction. You feel lost because your attention has been everywhere except where it matters most. Quick summary of the principles. Approval is your addiction. You are still living in reaction to others' opinions instead of your own truth. Your identity becomes unstable when it depends on outside validation. You delay your growth, waiting for acceptance that may never come. Self-love begins the moment you stop asking for permission to exist. You tolerate your value. Your daily actions show your real level of self-respect. What you repeatedly allow defines what you believe you deserve. Neglecting small responsibilities slowly damages your self-worth. Raising your standards is the first act of true self-care. Needing eyes weakens vision. Constantly seeking validation separates you from your inner clarity. You lose your real self when you value being seen more than being true. External attention gives temporary satisfaction, but long-term emptiness. Self-awareness grows only when you are comfortable being unseen. Self-betrayal feels normal. You abandon yourself in small ways and call it adjustment. Ignoring your inner voice creates inner conflict and quiet resentment. Every act of self-betrayal weakens your confidence. Honoring your truth is the base of self-trust. Attachment hides itself. What feels like love is often dependency rooted in fear. Emotional reliance on others creates instability inside you. You confuse connection with the inability to be alone. Freedom begins when you learn to stand complete by yourself. Ease is not love. Comfort does not equal growth, and avoidance is not care. Real self-love requires discipline and hard choices. Avoiding discomfort keeps you trapped in the same patterns. Growth begins when you act despite resistance. Rejection is freedom. Not being liked is not a failure. It is clarity. Trying to please everyone weakens your identity. Rejection helps you filter what is not aligned with you. True strength comes from accepting that not everyone will choose you. Love begins within. Seeking love outside creates endless emotional dependency. You cannot receive deeply if you are empty within. Inner fulfillment removes the need for constant reassurance. Self-love starts when you become emotionally complete alone. Self-respect comes first. Others treat you based on the standards you set for yourself. Lack of self-respect invites disrespect from the outside world. Your behavior teaches people how to value you. Self-respect requires consistent alignment with your principles. Truth is uncomfortable. Avoiding self-reflection keeps you trapped in illusion. You cannot grow if you refuse to see your flaws. Facing yourself honestly is needed for transformation. Clarity begins when you stop hiding from your own reality. Care is a discipline. Self-love is built through consistent actions, not feelings. You must treat yourself with the same care you give others. Neglecting yourself while caring for others creates imbalance. Daily intentional care strengthens your inner foundation. Your energy is sacred. Where you place your attention decides your life direction. Over-focusing on others drains your mental and emotional energy. You lose yourself when you constantly watch others instead of yourself. Growth becomes faster when your attention is directed inward. Self-love is not a soft idea. It is a radical change in how you live, think, and respond to life. It asks for honesty where you once chose comfort, discipline where you once chose ease, and awareness where you once stayed unconscious. The truth is simple but hard to accept. The life you experience is a direct reflection of how deeply you value yourself. In the wisdom of Gautama Buddha, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. But this is not given. It is built. Slowly, intentionally, through every decision where you choose yourself over illusion. So pause for a moment and ask, are you ready to stop escaping yourself and finally start standing with yourself? If this spoke to you, take a moment to like and share this video and share your thoughts in the comments for more powerful Buddhist insights on living a peaceful, awakened life.